When barbarians decide to hone their craft in defense of nature, often working alongside druids and rangers in very dangerous locations, we get the Storm Herald Barbarian. Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the Daily D20, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. And today, we're talking about the Storm Herald Barbarian. That's right, this thing came out with the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Before we dive into how this barbarian works, though, remember to leave a comment down below and check the link in the description to vote on how you would rate the Storm Herald Barbarian so we can rank them compared to the other Primal Paths. Speaking of the Storm Herald Barbarian, we see barbarians that have figured out a way to harness the power of nature and combine that with their rage to make very powerful magics that they can use on the battlefield without having to do the frilly spellcasting of wizards and other spellcasting classes. We're talking more auras, we're talking more innate passive magics that just happen because of the Storm Herald's existence. As we dive into the abilities of the Storm Herald and how they work, you'll notice that there's 3 different locations listed for each one. You have the desert, the sea, and the tundra. What those mean is as you become a Storm Herald at level 3, you can pick one of the environments, and then every level after that, you could change that environment more to suit your needs in the adventure. But for each ability that the Storm Herald gets, the environment has a specific effect that takes place. Right off the bat, at level 3, you get what's called a Storm Aura, which basically means whenever you rage, you get an aura that extends to 10 feet on either side, or all sides of you. This gives you a pretty good area. It's about a 20-foot diameter kind of circle around you that this area will affect. The effect takes place when you begin your rage, and then you are able to activate it every turn after that using your bonus action. If you chose the desert environment, what this means is all of the creatures within your aura take 2 fire damage right off the bat. The damage increases at level 5, 10, 15, and 20. If you chose the sea environment, you get to pick one creature within your aura. They must make a dexterity saving throw or take 1d6 lightning damage. If they succeed the saving throw, then they take half of the damage, but again, that damage increases at levels 10, 15, and 20. And if you chose the tundra environment, each creature that you choose within your aura gains 2 temporary HP, and again, this temp HP increases at levels 5, 10, 15, and 20. So you can see right off with just Storm Aura how the different environments can affect how you play the game. This leads into the other abilities where as you level up, you'll have the option to change your environment depending on what effect you need to accomplish. At level 6, you get the ability Storm Soul, which basically gives you something to do or some passive ability that comes into effect even when you're not raging. Most of the times when a barbarian does something, they need to be raging for the effect to take place. This is one of those situations when they don't need to be. If you've picked the desert environment, you gain resistance to fire damage and extreme heat conditions. Also, you can touch something that's flammable that's not being worn by another creature and just light it on fire just by touching it, which would come in handy when making a campfire, I guess. If you've picked the sea environment, you gain resistance to lightning damage, but you also gain the ability to breathe underwater and 30 feet swimming speed, which is faster than anyone else can swim in water. If you pick the tundra, you get resistance to cold damage and extreme cold effects, but on top of that, you have the ability now, if you want to touch water, you can freeze a 5-foot cube of water just by touching it. All very useful abilities. This is more passive. Like I said, you don't have to be raging to do these things, but getting a nice, damage resistance on top of what you already have is pretty good, and I think being able to freeze or burn things is also very useful depending on your situation. At level 10, you gain the Shielding Storm ability, which basically extends your defensive capabilities of your aura to your allies. So when you activate this, you may choose several allies within your aura range, and they gain the defensive abilities of your Storm Shield, meaning fire resistance, lightning resistance, or cold resistance. They do not, however, get the ability to touch things and burn them, or freeze them, or the ability to breathe underwater and swim really fast. Only you get that stuff. Then at level 14, you get the Retaliation ability, which in this case is the Raging Storm, which lets your environments hit back a little harder on each of your turns. If you picked the desert environment, you're gonna guess it's probably fire damage, and you'd be right. Whenever a creature within your aura attacks you, they may take a dexterity saving throw, and if they fail, they take fire damage equal to 1/2 your barbarian level. So if you're a level 14 barbarian, they would instantly take 7 fire damage. If you pick the sea environment, again, when a creature within your aura attacks you with a melee attack, this time as a reaction they have to take a strength saving throw, or they get knocked prone, like a wave of the ocean crashing down on someone from your raging fury. And last, for the environment of the tundra, while your aura is active, you can pick a creature within your aura. They will make a strength saving throw, and if they fail, their speed is reduced to 0 as if they're frozen in place. Obviously, this is really good for crowd control. When looking at the Storm Herald, this is essentially a spellcasting barbarian. The auras and the powerful effects they get from the auras and they can send to their allies are very useful in a lot of different situations. If you're going into an area with a lot of fire and potential fire damage, you can use the Storm Shielding Fire Protection version to protect yourself and your allies. The one thing I will note about this class, though, is it relies a lot on your enemies making saving throws versus your spell save DC. Now, your spell save DC in this case is 8 plus your proficiency modifier plus your constitution modifier, which means you really should want to make your constitution your highest ability score and get that to 20 as soon as possible so you can really amp up your spell save DC, making it a lot harder for the enemies to succeed on their saves. Of course, if you want a little more survivability, you can always take the tough feat to give a little more hit points to you, and if you boost your dexterity, that will also give you a higher armor class. These kind of basic barbarian things come into play with the Storm Herald. Really, the main thing I wanted to point out is that if you can boost your spell save DC by getting your constitution as high as possible, that will be the most effective for the Storm Herald Primal Path, I believe. Like I said, I haven't played these before. I don't know exactly how that works in situation. I just know how they read, and I can make assumptions from that. But once you do all that, you just get to enjoy raging and this power of the storm that you now inherit. It's pretty cool. I like the idea of the class. I've made a character that's a Storm Herald. I haven't got to play him yet, but I have him just sitting in the wing, waiting for one of my other characters to die. We'll see when that happens. Again, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the Storm Herald Barbarian, and then go hit the link in the description so you can vote on it and give it a rating so we can judge these Primal Paths against each other. Again, I've been Richard. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see on the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. You can also click over here to see more videos in this playlist, or over here to see what YouTube suggests you watch from my channel.